Hi, I'm David Morgan. I'm with the Chelan-Douglas Land Trust. We are at the Enloe property along the Entiat River, which until this time last year had a huge house standing right where I am today. We had some materials from the Bureau of Reclamation and some of our other fish habitat restoration partners that essentially showed what this property was probably like before the house was here. In other words, you could see where the old river channel flowed. You could see the area that was brought in as artificial fill to put the house on. You could see a remnant of some of those side channels and wetlands. So you could intuitively grasp how much floodplain would be reactivated if we could remove that dirt. The floodplain is the place where the small fish go to grow and hide when they're too little to compete successfully out of the main channel. They find a lot of food there. And it was because of that early analysis that some of our partners did that we could see the really high potential of this property for fish habitat restoration. Luckily for us, the house had just come on the market, and we were a little bit nervous about approaching the landowner, wondering what he would think about selling the house for this sort of project. And one of the first things he said was, "Yeah, I can see the river's trying to take this house. Never should have been built there." So he was all excited for the possibility that we could carefully remove the house and restore the fish habitat. One of the things that was very important for us early on was how to make sure that we didn't destroy a perfectly good house. The house is only about 20 years old, 3,000 square feet. It was a really nice house. And there were several outbuildings that we didn't want to just demolish. So luckily we found a group in the Methow that was supporting families affected by the fires a couple of summers ago.
David wondered if we wanted to utilize those materials for homes that we were rebuilding. We had volunteers go in, dismantle everything, and used those parts to do sheds and chicken coops for fire survivors. And it was really fun to do.
Then of course we had to figure out, could you even move a 3,000 square foot house? And luckily there's a house moving business in Kashmir.
So we were called in the spring of 2016, and there were some challenges, as there always is when moving a house. Number one, it had a 2-story garage, so the 2-story garage had to be reduced to 1 story.
I live across the street from this project, so I was curious and I started asking some questions, and I was invited by David to a meeting. At the meeting, Andy Davidson, a sharp guy, made it pretty clear that the 2-story section of the structure couldn't be moved. I accepted the challenge and began taking the structure apart, methodically taking off all the siding, roofing. There was an overhang around the outside of it, had to come off. And then we just basically tore the building down one wall at a time and transported it across the road to a property of mine to be reconstructed.
And then we used rollers to roll the house off the foundation. And then we put it on dollies, and we used 2 trucks to pull it up out of the hole. The house was 10 feet wider than the road. We actually had to widen the road a little bit in a couple of places. The house comes down onto the foundation, sits on the sill plate, is bolted down per county codes, and the house sits on the foundation as if it were built there in the first place.
Another question was, who would want a house like this? Who could partner with us if we could move it? And it turned out there was a property owner a couple of miles downstream in a dry field, a place where the river will never threaten a new house.
And when this opportunity came along, I was like, I couldn't believe that it was exactly what we were looking for. It made so much sense from the sustainability point of view, also from economical point of view, just because living so far off the road, it's always kind of hard, to coordinate with contractors. And so I was thinking that it's going to be like a complicated process, to build a house here. It was like a dream come true.
Thanks to CDLT, we're going to be doing future restoration work here, and here at Enloe we're going to have a network of side channels and log structures to help with salmon habitat restoration. The whole point of this project is to create lots of off-channel and side-channel opportunities to hopefully uplift the salmon populations for the future.
One of the great things about this project is that we're not only doing something great for fish, we're also doing something for people. The Land Trust owns property a few miles upstream from here, where traditionally people have come to enjoy the river, to swim, paddleboard, float. But there are a few places to take out, especially at the lower end of the Stillwater section, which is the most exciting place to float. The Land Trust owns the top end, we now own the bottom end. So when this project is done, in addition to the fish work, we'll have a small parking area for turnaround for people with their boats, and then a trail down from there to the river so they can get in and out with their canoes. We're looking forward to the follow-up fish habitat restoration work here over the next couple of years, and more opportunities in the future.
Conservation is at my foundation, so it was really a thrill to be able to have some input in something that was going to improve the area.
Looking back right now, it seems like such a beautiful story. It's my home, and this is a beautiful story, so I'm excited about it.
The Chelan-Douglas Land Trust would like to thank our project sponsors and most of all the 2,000 households who make possible everything we do.